the window.
Yeah.
And he's
Betty's like, I can see where this is going.
rocking. All of a sudden he rocks back and flies over and crashes through the window. This is the introduction. Now you wonder why they didn't like him. And their doubts about him. So you know how Grandpa, he's not going to call anybody to fix it. He's going to do it himself. So he says, well, we're going to have to get the putty knives out. We're going to have to do all this. Go into a local glass shop, get the measurements. Took him all day long. Was involved in fixing this window. So, and he got up early the next morning and left. That was the introduction.
Oh, my word. Well, the one thing I remember, this was after we were married. We were living in Lansing and, no, we were living in Detroit. Larry was going to Wayne to law school and I was teaching. And Larry loved soft-boiled eggs.
Who doesn't? I mean, really.
And so he would cook his soft-boiled eggs, and then he went to the cupboard and he got a shot glass. Dad thought he was going to have a drink for breakfast. But he used the shot glass to set his egg in.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I remember one thing about Grandpa. They went to Grandpa Sarhat's funeral. And I'll never forget coming up out of the basement after the luncheon. Grandpa Haradine said, well, I've learned one thing. You have to change your lifestyle and do what you want to do when you want to do it. I'm going to change. He never changed.
Maybe that is what he wanted to do. He wanted to do it.
Oh, I don't know.
So what was it like when you got here then? When you, I mean, so growing up here, but when you moved back.
Oh,
You went through Grandma trying to close down, for one thing.
well, Grandma was very much, many years later. I mean, we'd been here probably, well, this would have been before her stroke. So that would have been that was in 87. So it was a little bit before that. She talked to Larry and I about converting the cottages into housekeeping and seeing if there weren't certain people who came who would come and rent for a month. So we wouldn't have so much. By then, they weren't serving meals.
Right.
Because the lodge was gone.
And so she asked Larry and I to come up and help her compose a list and put together a letter to send to people. And Grandpa was very much opposed. And he got very ugly. And he took it out on me. And I can remember we were around their kitchen table. I got up and ran out of the house. And about 2 days later, he came down and he said, well, your mother said I had to come and apologize to you. In other words, I'm not apologizing. I'm doing it because your mother has forced me to.
She probably didn't force him to do a lot of things.
No, she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So that must have been an interesting conversation they had.
Well, that was when, after Grandma's, I'm trying to think if it was before that she locked him out.
She locked him out?
You never heard that story?
No, that's a good one.
Was that before her stroke? it might have been,
That she locked him out?
yeah.
That I don't
I'm
know.
thinking it was.
I don't know that I was here, so it probably was before.
It was after we moved here. And you remember Dave and Cookie?
Yeah.
All right, Dave and Cookie were a couple from Elkhart who, in my estimation, were spongers. They would come up and they'd do a, pardon my expression, half-assed job of helping Grandpa do this or do that. And they would never pay. And they would just come on the weekends, and they had a sailboat out in the water.
But they anchored off that big cement slab
Mhm.
that's still by Jeff and Jamie's. I don't know if you ever see that when we're going over. It's like the size of this table probably.
Yeah, so, they would come up and both Dave and Cookie, in my estimation, were alcoholics.
They were, yeah, my estimation too. And I was young and I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they were always,
Always drinking.
yeah.
So, Grandpa also liked to drink.
Uh-huh.
So they would stay in
Deluxe.
Deluxe. And he'd go over there. So Grandma was at home. And he didn't come back, So she locked him out of the house.
I went to bed. What did he do that night? Did he ever
He
get
went
in?
back to Dave and Cookie's. He had no choice. Now, where he spent the night, I don't know. If he spent it in their place or the one next door or,
Probably the one next
Where?
door.
but it was interesting. As Mother got older, she got braver and stood up for herself. Which,
I mean, so you have that. What, were there other kind of,
well,
or she just took a different tone?
she just took a different tone, and I think she just, I think she got to the point where she was up here and she did what she wanted to do, or didn't like what he was doing and was trying to curb it. But I remember Ed and Ada wanted to go to a Miami Western football game for homecoming at Western. And Ed called and wanted to know if we'd want to go, he'd get tickets. Well, Grandpa heard about it, and lo and behold, he wanted to go. And then he said, well, and we'll have Dave and Cookie coming.
Oh my
Now,
goodness.
He's telling us. And Ed said, no, I have 5 tickets for Jeff, Betty and Larry, and Ada and I. And that's all. Well, Grandpa was so mad. He didn't speak to me for the longest time, and it
To
wasn't
you?
my doing.
I know.
So is it twice you've gotten the wrath of.
Yeah, no, he, for whatever reason, I always felt like I was
The scapegoat or the one left holding the bag.
When he came down to apologize, do you think Grandma told him that she had asked you to come up? Or do you think she let you guys take the fall for that?
Oh, no, I told him when he came. I said, you know, Grandma asked us to come up and do this. We weren't forcing ourselves on you to do this.
And what did he say?
Well, a difference of opinion. You know, he was a very difficult person to get along with, quite frankly. And the older I've gotten, and the more I'm thinking of situations and different experiences and what have you, I don't have a very good opinion of my father.
But you can kind of just let go of the things he did to you, knowing it was just his personality.
It's been
Oh.
taking a long, long time, you know, just different things, Amy. Like when I graduated from high school, I can remember it like it was yesterday. We were at the table in the kitchen in Kalamazoo, and he handed me a savings book. And he said, "This is your money, you earned it, and this is for your college." In other words,
You're on your own.
yes, and I was on my own.
And you had to move home your
I
senior.
moved home I was determined to have a college experience. So I lived in the dorm at Western, 3 miles away. And my last semester, I had $350 left. And I moved home.
And they didn't kick in to say, it's just one more semester.
I never got a dime. And for many, many, many years, I did not know that until your mother told me. And I knew they had paid Ed's, but I didn't know they had also paid yours.
Well, I mean, I know the same thing, we had to use our own money first, the money we'd earned at the lodge. We earned like $500 a summer, didn't we? As I remember.
Well, and I had a lot from tips.
Yeah. So I just know that I stayed there for 4 years.
Yeah.
So whatever, and I know I graduated with like $50 or something when I got married, so I'd used it all up for
Yeah.
sure.
So you don't know how much they would have had to.
No.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Um,
By then I was an in-state student, so it was,
different than paying out of state.
yeah,
tuition.
I only was out of state 1 year.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And bless her
And-
heart, Grandma never interceded with any of that.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did
No.
Grandma ever stick up for?
No, no. And see, I worked all through college. I sometimes had 2 jobs. I worked in the kitchen and I worked at the switchboard. And then I continued to work summers at the lodge. So,
Do you remember how long it was that they sold to the Runyons, how long they didn't have the lodge?
I think it was 7 years.
Was it? I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
They sold it in '55, because my senior year, I worked for the Runyons, the first year that they had it, at
Of
the
high
desk.
school.
Yeah,
Okay.
55.
And so then after when Sue and Michael were born, then
We
you were
were,
in Paradigm.
yeah.
probably.
Mhm.
And then you
They kept
got
the
it
3
back.
cottages.
You worked from 55 to,
No, only 55, but she's saying when Sue and Michael were born, we were in Dome, Wallaway,
yeah.
and Hairdyne.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
mainly
And
Hairdyne.
then you were adults and married, so it was really that first time they owned it that
Yeah.
was all of your
Oh, yeah.
working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
45 to 55,
Mhm.
10 years,
Was it only 10 years?
before they sold to Runyons.
Okay.
And then got it back
Yeah.
in 7 years for eternity.
You wonder how Grandma didn't, why she didn't intervene ever.
Oh, she went out?
Why she never intervened on your behalf.
I've thought a lot about that. I
And
don't
lots-
know whether it was her upbringing that, you know, the German, like my grandfather probably ruled the roost, but in a different way. I think back in those days, women did not speak up.
There wasn't
Yeah.
women's lib
Yeah,
yet.
no, I mean, it was probably the make do and you don't complain and you
Yeah.
just,
And I think the fact that my grandfather was a farmer and he knew about farming. My grandmother must have not so much known about farming, so she never interfered. And so Grandma was accustomed to that kind of,
She was not an argumentative person.
No, not
Never
at
wanted
all.
to get involved in any controversy with
No.
anybody.
no. She always went along with everything Grandpa wanted to do. Or go, or just, and,
Was she happy with that?
I was just gonna say, basically, I don't think it was a very happy marriage.
But I think she was a happy person with, around us, or just,
Yeah. She never expressed a lot of, wasn't one to talk about things.
yeah. Amy asked once, did you remember her just laughing and enjoying herself?
Well, she did. When you kids were little, and we were all up at their house, and remember how we used to be around the
Yeah.
table and play games and stuff? And she would stay up and play with us.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa never did. He never interacted with the family.
Except to have us work, giving us assignments to do things.
Irene Menzie used to say to me, I've never seen anybody in my entire life who can get people to work the way Carl Haradine can.
Well, and so that's when I was trying to think of when we'd be around the table playing games sometimes, although I don't know how often that was, and when she was with Opal.
Yeah,
We were doing those.
She was
Mhm.
enjoying herself.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, she always. I don't remember, Amy, did she really, I think she, as a grandchild, she probably enjoyed Susan the most.
Susan spent a lot of time with her,
Yeah.
coming up here summers on her own.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to really,
And I know
'cause I feel
Grandpa,
like her and Susan were together a lot.
they were very close.
And I thought I might want to talk to Mary Jo because she was with
Very.
Grandma a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I brought Mary Jo's address down just to see if it's the same one you have,
Oh, okay.
and a phone number, before
Well,
we leave, we'll look for it.
Did you have a phone number?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
okay.
She
Because-
and Rob are both retired, and they live in Columbus. She talked about coming up here this summer, but,
Summers go fast.
I know, you know. Of course, now they, with not working, they could come anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Grandma saw many, many, many changes in her lifetime. From being taken to school on a horse-drawn sled.
Yeah.
Have you ever shown Amy the large photos you did for Grandma's funeral?
No.
We didn't get those out, did
No.
we? We ought to get those
Figure that
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about those.
She was close to Vera
Mm-hmm.
Trendler.
Mm-hmm. Cy and Vera, you were asking about her friends.
Mhm.
I'd forgotten about Cy and Vera.
Yeah, and I think she was
Les and Bernice, but
Les
not,
and Bernice, and then also Toivel and, what was her name, Jenny?
Ginny.
Jenny?
Or Jenny.
Malala. They lived in Oakwood. And then later moved to Allegan. and they were very close to them.
The Staffords.
Oh, yeah, Staffords.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like those were Grandma's friends, or they were Grandpa's friends and Grandma was close with the wives?
Quite often they were Grandpa's
They were
friends.
Grandpa's friends.
Mhm.
Which maybe is what makes Opal different.
Exactly, exactly,
Mhm.
Was her friend.
yeah.
Mhm.
And Grandma belonged to a book group in Oakwood. It was Mrs. Hackman,
Skalberg.
who,
Skalberg.
Stallberg,
SCH. Skalberg.
Stallberg. Oh,
Remember
yes, I
that?
know.
Schulberg or
Don't remember them at all.
In fact, I think that's who we got our dog Curly from.
Oh,
David and
oh, yeah, now I do.
and what was the another Tom and David Skalberg.
Did Curly live in the house with you?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Came down here.
Yeah, growing up, yeah, we had Curly. Curly was funny. When we came to the lodge, Curly did not like the black garbage man. Oh. Shoulder.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he used to bark, 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 bark. Didn't like that guy at all.
And then she had her cats. Grandma would have all the cats that were around. I mean, the one cat we take in and get back here for.
Yeah, Kitty.
Kitty, yeah.
Mhm.
And Grandma, that one time she said to me, I don't know why Kitty likes it down here better than she does at my house. And I said, well, Mom, it's because you don't let your cat in the house.
Oh, didn't they let Kitty?
No,
didn't
Kitty
come?
didn't come in the house.
No.
Oh, Kitty
she did
never
not.
did.
No. And one winter when it was so very, very cold, Larry and I let Kitty in the house and she liked that.
Yeah.
And you know, Kitty was different. She would not get up on the furniture. She did not get up on the tables. The only place she got up on was the ledge of the window in the laundry room.
Hmm. Even after you said that, did Mom let Kitty in then? After you said she still, I get, growing up on the farm, your animals,
Your animals.
Well, that's why I wondered if Curly was a house dog.
yeah,
That
Curly did
Curly
come
was,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the only dog we ever had, right?
Mhm.
And I can't remember what happened to Curly.
Curly just disappeared one time. Remember we looked and looked and looked for that dog. I mean, Ed was just beside himself.
Was that in Kalamazoo or
No,
down
it was
here?
in Cleveland.
Oh, in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Because we just let Curly out to run
We had a
around
big
the yard,
We had a big yard in Cleveland.
and we would go in the car up and down the streets, Curly, Curly. Don't they say sometimes dogs, and Curly was old by then,
They know when.
kind of go away to,
And we had a lot of woods around us. Well,
yeah, we never found Curly, but he was a good dog for all of us.
Do you know what kind of dog Curly was?
a cocker,
Yeah,
black cocker, all black.
I'm sure I have pictures of him. I'll have to.
If Eddie and Larry got a Cocker Spaniel.
Yeah,
A blonde one.
Yeah, Buffy was the best dog.
So then we just had Misty as our dog. You guys have, how many have you had? Maybe
A lot.
20?
A lot of dogs. So,
Grandma was quite a lady.
You guys talked about selling the lodge for 7 years. Why did that happen? Like, why was it such a short amount of time?
When they did sell it?
Yeah.
Because Grandpa had taken this job in Cleveland. And the whole family moved to Cleveland. And they just thought it was going to be way too difficult to be remote. But then the Runyons bought it on what's called a land contract, where they were just paying so much at the end of the year, and they came to where they couldn't pay that amount. So it just kind of defaulted back to Grandma and Grandpa.
Luckily.
Yes, for us,
yes,
luckily.
Because Runyon's lost a lot of business. He was a strange guy.
Yeah, they weren't good resort
No.
people. So they got to the point where they didn't want to do it anymore. And then I think when Grandma and Grandpa took it back, were they just serving dinner? Well, I don't even know, did they take it back as a full meals and all that? And where did Opal come in? Did she come in after,
No, she was before.
before the Runyons?
Yeah. That might be when they didn't serve meals.
Maybe that was what led to it.
Yeah, that's what, I'm thinking, that's when they did,
Everything was just the housekeeping.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
when they converted,
The lodge to where we,
like,
because I remember always just staying in the lodge, not at ever having
Mm.
anything,
Mhm.
other than bingo night.
Mm-hmm, okay.
yeah.
So it would have been about 1962 or so that we got it back.
I'm thinking, yes, it was.
So like when Michael and Susan were
Babies.
babies,
We were still in
Paradigm.
Paradigm Cottage.
Mhm.